Have you ever felt the sting of being labeled as lost just because you don't follow a particular set of beliefs? It's a false narrative that those who don't adhere to faith are somehow adrift in life. But let's set the record straight. Ever been called a lost soul just because you don't subscribe to the idea of a higher power? It's as if not believing in a deity automatically makes you a wanderer without purpose or direction. This couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, many atheists and agnostics find profound meaning and purpose in their lives through other avenues. Newsflash: atheists aren't lost. We navigate our lives using a different set of tools. Instead of relying on faith, we turn to reason, evidence, and a healthy dose of skepticism to guide us. We just have a different map, one based on reason, evidence, and a healthy dose of skepticism. This map is meticulously crafted from centuries of scientific inquiry, philosophical debate, and personal introspection. It's a map that values questions over unquestioning belief and evidence over dogma. This lost soul trope is more than just a harmless statement. It's a lie that undermines the rich, diverse experiences of those who choose a secular path. It suggests that without religion, one cannot have a moral compass or a sense of direction in life. It's a loaded false accusation rooted in centuries of misinformation and, frankly, lazy thinking. This lie has been perpetuated by those who find it easier to dismiss differing worldviews rather than engage with them. It's a way to marginalize and other people who don't conform to faith. It's time to call out this lie and expose it for what it truly is: intellectual laziness at best, harmful prejudice at worst. By challenging these outdated notions, we can foster a more inclusive and understanding society, one where people are judged not by their beliefs but by their actions and character. So the next time someone tries to tell you that you're lost, just remember, you're not lost, you're exploring a different path, and that's perfectly okay. Imagine a time when the world was shrouded in mystery and the unknown was explained through myths and legends. The idea of atheists being lost souls has been around for ages. This notion didn't just appear out of nowhere, it was cultivated over centuries. Ancient religious texts often depicted non-believers as misguided or even dangerous. It's a tale as old as time, or at least as old as organized religion. From the grand temples of ancient civilizations to the medieval churches, the narrative was clear. To question the divine was to stray from the path of righteousness. Back in the day, questioning the existence of God was a one-way ticket to being labeled a heretic, a blasphemer, or worse. The consequences were dire. People were persecuted, ostracized, and even executed for their beliefs or lack thereof. These harsh punishments served as a warning to others, reinforcing the idea that faith was not to be questioned. This historical baggage still weighs heavily on how atheists are perceived today. Despite the progress we've made in terms of freedom of thought and expression, the old prejudices linger. Modern-day atheists often find themselves battling stereotypes and misconceptions that have been passed down through generations. The lost soul label is just a modern-day echo of those ancient fears and prejudices. It's a remnant of a time when conformity was enforced through fear and ignorance. Even in today's more enlightened society, these echoes can still be heard, whispering doubts and fostering division. It's a convenient way to dismiss our views without actually engaging with them. By labeling atheists as lost souls, it becomes easier to ignore their arguments and perspectives. This dismissal not only undermines meaningful dialogue, but also perpetuates a cycle of misunderstanding and mistrust. To move forward, we must recognize and challenge these outdated notions, fostering a culture of respect and open-mindedness. Let's be real. Calling someone a lost soul is inherently condescending. It implies that atheists are somehow incomplete, morally deficient, or just plain sad without a belief in God. It's like saying, "Oh, you poor misguided soul, you just don't know what you're missing." Here's the thing. Atheists are perfectly capable of leading moral, fulfilling lives without believing in the supernatural. We find meaning in our relationships, our passions, and our contributions to the world. We don't need a cosmic rulebook to tell us right from wrong. The lost soul narrative relies heavily on the assumption that souls, heaven and hell, actually exist. But here's the kicker. There's not a shred of scientific evidence to support these unproven claims. These concepts are based on faith, not facts. Faith shouldn't be used to justify unfounded claims or to denigrate those who don't share those beliefs. It's like saying, "I have an invisible dragon in my garage, and if you don't believe me, you're going to hell." Sounds ridiculous, right? That's because it is. Let's talk about souls for a second. The idea of the soul has fascinated humanity for millennia. From ancient civilizations to modern-day thinkers, the soul has been a topic of endless debate and speculation. What exactly is a soul anyway? Is it a tangible entity, or is it something more abstract, something that we can't quite put our finger on? Is it some ethereal substance that floats around after we die? Many cultures and religions have their own interpretations of what the soul is and what happens to it after death. Is it our personality, our consciousness, our essence? Some believe the soul is the core of our being, the part of us that makes us who we are. No one seems to have a clear answer. Despite centuries of philosophical inquiry and scientific investigation, the nature of the soul remains elusive, and yet the existence of the soul is often presented as a given, a fundamental truth. Many religious and spiritual traditions hold the soul as a central tenet of their beliefs. But if we're being honest with ourselves, the concept of the soul seems more like a convenient way to explain the mysteries of consciousness and the afterlife. It's a way to make sense of the unknown, to provide comfort in the face of life's greatest uncertainties. It's a comforting thought, sure, but that doesn't make it true. The soul, as a concept, may serve as a psychological balm, soothing our fears about death and the unknown. But without concrete evidence, it remains a matter of faith and personal belief. Science, on the other hand, seeks to understand consciousness through the lens of the brain and its functions. Neuroscientists study the brain's complex networks to uncover the roots of our thoughts, emotions, and sense of self. Some argue that what we call the soul is simply the result of these intricate neural processes. Our sense of self, our consciousness, could be nothing more than the sum of our brain's activities. Yet, the allure of the soul persists. It speaks to our deepest desires for meaning, connection, and continuity beyond this life. Whether real or imagined, the soul remains a powerful symbol in our quest to understand the human experience. Ultimately, the question of the soul may never be fully answered. It resides at the intersection of science, philosophy, and spirituality, each offering its own insights and mysteries. As we continue to explore the nature of consciousness and existence, the soul will undoubtedly remain a topic of profound curiosity and contemplation. Whether it is a figment of our imagination or a fundamental aspect of our being, the soul challenges us to look deeper into the essence of what it means to be human. And then there's the whole heaven and hell thing. The idea of eternal paradise or damnation is a powerful motivator, no doubt. But is it really plausible? Is there a celestial gated community where good people go to strum harps on clouds? Is there a fiery underworld where bad people are tortured for all eternity? Again, there's no evidence to support these claims. They're just stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the world and to cope with the inevitability of death. The lost soul narrative might seem harmless at first glance, but it has real-world consequences. This kind of rhetoric contributes to a culture of intolerance and prejudice against atheists. It can lead to discrimination in housing, employment, and even access to healthcare. It's 2025, folks. It's time to move beyond these outdated stereotypes. Atheists are your friends, your neighbors, your family members. We're not so different from you, except maybe we prefer our Sundays a little less preachy and a little more brunchy. So how do we combat this harmful lie? It's simple. Speak up. Challenge stereotypes. Educate yourself and others about atheism. And most importantly, treat everyone, regardless of their beliefs, with respect and dignity. Remember, atheism is not a threat to society. It's just a different way of looking at the world. Atheists aren't lost souls. We're not searching for meaning or purpose. We found it right here, in this life, in the connections we make and the impact we have on the world. It's time to ditch the tired old tropes and embrace a more inclusive, compassionate, and reason-based worldview. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Freethinker's Journey.